Hey there. I think I know the answer to this question, but do you want to be rich in retirement? And I contemplate this, what is rich? And I try to figure out why are some of my clients super happy and blissfully enjoying their retirement at all income and asset levels. Some of them do, some of them don't. And it's not really the amount of money that they have. So I started really thinking about this, reading articles on the psychology side of this. And I think it's really interesting because I've started implementing and thinking about it myself and how to apply it to my own life. I remember, the biggest principle of this. Let me go to the next page here and we can talk about it. The hedonistic treadmill. And I found some really interesting tidbits out there, but the human psychology is pretty interesting, and it started making a lot more sense to me. Rich is always just beyond what you have, right? I've exceeded as a child. I never thought I would be rich. I didn't know what rich was. I know I wanted to make money, and when I first started making money, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I went from making 3,000 a month to 10,000 a month almost overnight. And I felt like I was rich. I started buying cars. I noticed I was trading. I was single. I was trading in. I had two cars at all times, and I was trading them in every 6 months. It was crazy. So I started realizing that, wait a second, I'm not rich. Rich is that next level. There's always somebody out there that has more money than you. There are billionaires looking at the multi-billionaires. So rich is always just beyond where you currently are. You have to move that because I would have considered success a long time ago. And if I didn't move that bar and adjust my thinking, then, well, I would have sat stagnant. And that's what we're taught, this treadmill, this I gotta have more, I gotta have more. And honestly, the keeping up with the Joneses, the funny thing growing up is right next door and technically across our back fence was a family called the Joneses. Their last name was the Joneses. They were the rich ones around. They were the ones we were all trying to keep up with. Their house was beautiful. Everything was beautiful. It was just the perfect little place. And the reality is we have even more than just that now, just your friends, just your neighbors. No, we have the whole world of the internet and social media now that is trying to show us what we're supposed to be doing and what soap dispenser is better than your soap dispenser and all these crazy things that we're just ingrained with every single day. People are pushing it at us. It's amazing. I look up, a trip to somewhere in Europe, and all of a sudden, all my ads are, travel ads about this specific area in Europe. And all of a sudden, my TV starts showing me commercials. It's crazy how everything's so connected and forcing us to want what we don't have, right? So when you start realizing this, you start realizing that a new car every 6 months is not only financially irresponsible, but it also is not solving what you're craving. You get a little high off of it, but it wears off real quick. And if you start paying attention to that, then you start going back to that need versus want and realizing that a lot of these wants are just temporary little highs that we're getting, and that's all it is. And they start kind of wearing off. We don't need them as much. So I was reading a bunch of psychological articles, pulling stuff together and trying to figure out, why does this happen? Well, things that we can do, finding happiness within. Okay, finding that's the key. I started looking at all these clients, some rich, some not, some, not considered wealthy by most people's standards, that thoroughly enjoy their retirement. Some people think $1 million is rich. Some people may think 100 million is rich. Some people think, hey, I've got Social Security that pays me 4 grand a month and my bills are 3 grand a month. I want for nothing and I'm super happy. I've seen it. I know I have a client that makes 2,500 a month and lives their life on 2,500 a month. And she's one of the happiest people I know. So we have to start working on ourselves as we transition into retirement, because a vast majority of this transition into retirement is psychological from a lot of perspectives. But the want versus need and discovering these things in ourselves becomes really important for that level of enjoyment that you're going to have. So know when enough is enough. Contentment is one of the most underrated forms of wealth. People who live simply understand that satisfaction grows from appreciating what they already have. This is a neat little trick, and I've noticed myself transitioning into this a lot more. Not that I'm running off into retirement, I certainly could, but I actually enjoy what I do. And that's the big difference. I love doing these little educational videos, okay? So starting to enjoy what you actually have, not needing to constantly upgrade and get the next best thing. Start enjoying what you have. And this applies to wealthy people and not wealthy people, right? I mean, this applies to anybody and everybody. Enjoy the here and now. Enjoy what you have. Be thankful for what you have. Remember that childhood brain that said, if I have that, I'll be happy. Well, you've exceeded that tenfold, right? Protect your time like it's your most valuable asset, right? Here's something that might surprise you. Studies show that people who value their time like money or more than money experience greater life satisfaction, right? So it's about the here and now, the time you're having here and now. Focus on those things. Savor the small moments instead of waiting for the big ones. I have a problem with this one. I just got to get through this week to get to this. I just got to get to here to get to that, to get. There's always that point I need to be at later. I live in a world where I have a task list on my other computer and I'm just trying to plow through these tasks. I just got to get through this one, just got to get through this one, instead of focusing on the here and now and enjoying this, right? So savor these small moments. You know, it's weird. I've noticed that Pavlov's dog, every time I click that I finish a task, it dings. And I'm like, I crave that ding. It's very strange how our brains work. It's interesting. So savor those small moments. That ding should trigger a good thing in me, and that's okay. So choose presence over productivity, and that's where the to-do list is my big problem, right? Right? It's just a series of tasks. Get this done, get this done, get this done. Even stuff at home, if I don't put it on my to-do list, I forget to get it done. So choose presence over productivity. Well, that's fine when you're retired, but I'm a type A personality. Go, 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 got to get stuff done. And this is very, very hard for me. So we all have to work on things like this. This is closely connected to my previous point of savoring the small moments. People who live simply understand that being fully present adds more meaning to life than crossing off tasks. They give your attention completely to what's in front of them. I hope I can transition this part of my brain when I head off into retirement. I'm one of those that takes a week of vacation just to get into this. And so it's very hard. By the time I'm starting to come back from vacation is when I finally start enjoying vacation. Keep your relationships real and uncomplicated. A simple life often comes with simple relationships. People who feel rich inside nurture their connections that are honest, calm, and mutually supportive. They value depth over drama. Well, look, everybody lives in their cliques. And it was funny. I was listening to a podcast or something, and it was funny. They were visiting their mother in a long-term care facility and realized the long-term care facility was just high school with older people. And there were cliques in the long-term care facility, and oh, we don't like her because she's like this, and and it starts all over again. So just be mindful of this. Enjoy the people that you're around for their qualities. Everybody's got quirks. And trust me, the older you get, the stronger your quirks get. I see this every day. And we have to be okay with that. I heard somebody call them foibles. I think that's from a movie, Good Will Hunting. Everybody's got the foibles. They're little things, they're little quirks, and find a way to start enjoying those little things, those little quirks. By the way, that's one of the secrets to a good marriage. Find a way to enjoy your spouse's foibles. All right. Stay curious and grateful. I've said this in a lot of my videos about how to enjoy retirement, staying curious. I'm getting a little nervous about my parents. They're hitting their 80s and their bucket list has come to an end. So, you know, I've started creating some new bucket list ideas. It's important that you stay curious, and that, you know, for my parents, they're slowing down a little bit physically, so, you know, big travel, international travel is what they're trying to slow down, but local travel, you know, exploring their own state is still on board, and they're still out there doing things and being involved, and that's what matters. So try to have your bucket list always evolving, and that occurs for people that are curious, people that want more out of life and want to go do things and be involved and stay connected. So that all works together. And then the last one is measure your success by how you feel, not what you have, right? So this is kind of that big eye opener for a lot of people. Constantly, you know, oh, I got it. You know, when I got my first vacation home, let's call it, it worked out so well and so wonderful. I'm like, I arrived. I have a house and I have a vacation home. Holy cow! And then things were going well with that. I'm like, well, I wish I had a house on the beach. And I ran into an opportunity to buy a house down in Mexico. For those of you that don't know, Phoenix is only a 5-hour drive from the beach in Mexico. And by the way, houses are very cheap down there. It's wonderful. So ran into a great opportunity, bought a house on the beach, and then another one, and then another. So the reality is you're always going after one thing after another. The cool thing is, instead of me buying cars, I'm buying things that are appreciating assets. Real estate is a fantastic appreciating asset. Now I have a wonderful portfolio of real estate. We're renting out most of them, and it works out fantastic. So the reality is I've channeled my I need another, I need more into great investments. So I've realized this again, spending time trying to figure out why and how people enjoy their retirement is a lot more than just investing and having a good financial plan. It's adjusting the mentality, adjusting the way you look at things. Which I'm done buying real estate. I'm done with that. I'm no more dangling carrots. I'm trying to learn how to live in the here and now. So set yourself up for success. And this is where it all starts connecting. You know, look, I can't fix the brain. I can't fix how you react to things. I can't fix, we can talk about it, and videos like this maybe help you start thinking about it. But I'm a big believer that the more we think about things, that's how you start solving these problems. The more I acknowledge that I have problems like this, the more I'm able to work on them, and the more I'm able to remind myself to enjoy the here and now. Okay. But these are financial exercises that start helping you with all of these things. So I'm always an advocate of writing down your need to pays, especially as you're heading into retirement or before you head into retirement, getting a good grasp on what the I need to pays are in your life, the must pay bills, you know, whether it's insurance, electric bill, you know, whatever the bills are that you have to pay every single month or yearly. Some people pay their taxes yearly, whatever the case may be. Think of it as survival. What would you need to survive in your life in terms of monthly income to pay your bills? And then you can add in some basic fun. And when I say basic fun, that's your Netflix subscription. That's going out to dinner once a week, not every night. right? That's some real basic, fun money. And yes, food should be, your grocery bill should be part of those must pay bills. You have to eat to survive. In real world, you have to have shelter over your head to survive. All of these basic bills, let's make sure that we understand what that is on a regular basis. And then go through and create a separate budget and say, well, what are these I want to pays? Okay. So this is that basic need versus want, need versus want. And retirement, yeah. First priority, survive. Second priority is enjoy, right? It's just need versus want. That's all this really is. So now travel, expensive hobbies. I say expensive hobbies because some people, their hobby is hiking, right? You don't have to really put money on hobbies. Gifting, whether that's charitable gifting or helping out the kids, things like that. The remodeling, the one-time expenses, the second home, the boat, the condo in Cabo, whatever these I want to pays are. Start listing those out. For some people, it's kind of a different version of a bucket list. What is it I enjoy that costs money? Because going and see the grandkids may or may not cost you money, depending how far away they are, right? So then once you have these lists, this idea of how much you need to spend on stuff like this, you start putting dollars onto this and say, well, my average trip is going to cost me 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever it is that it is for you. And maybe you plan on taking one trip a year, or maybe you plan, like my parents, take 2 trips a year. Expensive hobbies, put some prices on it. What's your golf membership? Stuff like that. And then put some parameters on your gifting, right? So then I want you to think about it like this. People that enjoy their retirement, one thing from a dollars and cents that's very black and white to me that I see regularly, your need to pays need to be covered by guaranteed income. Only 3 forms of guaranteed income out there. And there is no arguing this, because I'm going to make it guaranteed income for life, not guaranteed income for a certain period of time. You can't tell me a CD is guaranteed income for life. You can't tell me a treasury is guaranteed income for life. You certainly can't tell me a rental property is guaranteed income for life. So therefore, the only guaranteed income is Social Security. And some people will argue, oh, that's going away, we're going bankrupt. Let's go beyond the doomsdayer, because if we're going to be doomsdayers, then the reality is the US dollar doesn't mean anything. It's worthless, right? So Social Security, that is a payment for life. Pension is a payment for life. And oh, by the way, a pension is a guaranteed income annuity. So income annuities are payments for life. These things are all structured based on annuities, believe it or not. Okay, so here are your 3 forms of guaranteed income. The guaranteed income needs to cover at least that base survival. As you're heading into retirement, you want to look at this and scrutinize this and make sure that this is true. For some people, it's just realizing it's true. It's actually writing it down on paper, because boy, does the stress alleviate immediately. Think about that. All of my survival, some people experienced a pandemic world where they didn't leave their house. That was your survival budget, right? So when we look at that and realize that our bills are paid by this mailbox money that shows up every single month, boy, then we get to look at all of our savings and say, hey, that's going to be split up for our fun stuff. And it makes everything so much easier psychologically. It's up here in the brain that matters the most, believe it or not. So now all your savings and certainly any excess income can be focused on go enjoy your retirement. How do you want to spend this money? Do you want to give it to charities? Do you want to give it to your kids? Or do you want to enjoy it yourself? That's what you're focusing on, and that's what makes this fun. And then the simple equation you go from there is you take your total savings. How much money have you saved, right? I usually don't include your primary residence. That's the break glass here for long-term care. Total savings divided by how many years you're going to have in retirement. 30 years, 40 years, 10 years, 5 years. I don't know, whatever you think. But I want you to go an extra 5 years beyond what you think is actually possible. If you think there's no way you're going to live to 90 years old, then go to 95. Because I'd rather you die with a few dollars than broke for 5 years, the last 5 years of your retirement. Okay, so push it out further than you think you can live. And then add your guaranteed income to that number. So total savings divided by how many years in retirement added to your guaranteed income. Let's say you got $4,000 a month, that's 48,000 a year. You got another 30,000 in pension. Add those numbers all together. Okay, that's your total budget for your retirement. If your total budget for need to pays versus want to pays is less than this number, you're good to go. You're on easy street. Okay, if your need to pays plus your want to pays on an annual basis is more than this, you're going to want to work on fixing it. Okay, either increase income or decrease bills. That's it. You connect all of these dots together, and this, especially psychologically, is going to help you go enjoy your retirement. So that previous slide, all those little tidbits to think about, what do you struggle with? And then connect it to your budget and how you're looking at your money. And then enjoy what you have. Enjoy the fact that you've got a budget that allows you to spend 20 grand a year or 5 grand a year or 50 grand a year on your fun stuff. Enjoy it. Realize that as a kid or in your younger years, this already far exceeded where you thought you were going to be. Find a way to enjoy what it is that you have. That's the important part. Okay. So people, when they ask me, can I retire? I don't know. Do you have all this fixed? I mean, I know people that can live on what you have and enjoy every bit of it, but can you is the question. Wealth is in the head. I know people that have less than you that thoroughly enjoy their retirement. How's that possible? That's the convincing part for me. I already far exceed the vast majority of my clients. I am 95%. And that's why I know I can go enjoy retirement, but I have to psychologically be ready for that. I have to enjoy what I have. It can't just be a series of tasks. What's next? What's next? What's next? That's going to be a hard transition for me. So, hey, maybe I work for the rest of my life, and there is a capacity for that. Some people enjoy what they do, and I'm already down to a 4-day work week for myself, and I enjoy it, and it's fun for myself. And so I plan on keeping doing this forever. I love being an advisor. I love working with clients. I love learning from my clients. And so I can enjoy my life and do what I do, which is fantastic. So that's the key. That's what I want for everybody. I hope that helps. I hope that gives perspective. There is a connection from our brains and the psychology of finance and the actual black and white numbers. And connecting those in your case is going to help you go enjoy retirement. I know people that transitioned in retirement and all they do is worry about money. Can I make it? And just simply going down and sitting through and creating a way for us to step back to the big picture and see it can help you. It may not work just the first time. You got to do it over and over and over again. That big picture is really important. And that's what I love doing. I love working with people to get them to enjoy their retirement. So yourinvestmentcounselor.com. You can set up a free meet and greet with me if I can help in any way. I'm always happy to. No obligation on that. Go to yourinvestmentcounselor.com. That's just to get to know each other and see what I can do to help. Full classes. I do full educational classes on fpfeaz.org, fpfeaz.org. Certainly give us a call, 800-345-3155. Like, subscribe, share, do all those wonderful things. I love working with this stuff, and this is just a piece of stuff that goes on in my brain. All right, everybody, we'll see you next week. Thanks again.